Greetings and salutations, my geeks, nerds, gamers, and lanners. It is I, your host, Mr. G63, and today I'm going to be showing you how to set up your workshop. Now, for those of you who have played this game for a few hours already, you may have your own ways of setting up your base, but for the new gamers, the new settlers of Navidgan, this is my way of showing how to set up your workshop in the most time efficient way possible. Now, this is not a cookie cutter way of building your bases, but this might give you some indication as to how you can set up yours. So, let us begin. So you will see that you don't need such an enormous area to build up your workbench or your workshop. What I recommend is have a small area so that you can access everything all at the same time. So for the demonstration, I'm going to be using this back corner as our crafting area. So first thing that you always want to make sure that you have is a few of these storage crates, the ones that are writable. So if you go into your crafting menu and you type in write, you will see here is the writable storage box. Now for this you need 10 nails and 12 wood. Now craft a few of these because this is where you're going to be putting your main resources as well as some of the items that you will be creating. Now, I tend to go quite mad with this. If any of you guys have seen my streams, you will see on Twitch, it is twitch.tv/MrG63, and you will notice that I tend to have a box for every single resource available. You don't have to go that far, but keep some of the items generally collected. So for example, building materials or stone and ore, so that you can keep your stone, your cobble, your clay, your cement in one box so that you know exactly where to get everything. Now, one thing that the first crafting item or crafting tool that you will find is the campfire. So campfire is basically used for food and cooking. You can also create other items such as glue in the campfire, and as you can see, the campfire can only be placed directly on the floor. Now I find this a little bit annoying, having to look at the floor every time I want to start cooking. So what I normally do is I put up one crate or 2 crates for my food. So one, I can put my campfire on top of the crate. So this one, for example, I'm going to call this food, and this one I'm going to call raw food. Then just for safety's sake, have a drinks box as well. So this is where I can store all my water, I can store all my raw food like the raw meats, raw vegetables, and in here I can have all my food. Now this basically allows me to have quick access to all my eating and my food and hydration items close by, so I don't need to run from one spot to the next to get them. The next item that you will be looking to get is the forge. Now with the forge, you will see that you'll have to use a fuel. So this, you can use wood, same as the campfire like I showed you guys in last week's video. For those of you who have not seen last week's video, please check the card appearing now. So with the forge, how the forge works is you can smelt iron, brass, lead, sand, clone, and stone. Now, these will allow you to then craft your items within the forge. So what you have to do, you, unlike things like the campfire, where I can just select a recipe, and if I have it in my inventory, I can make it. The forge, you first have to smelt down the items. So let me quickly demonstrate. So you will see that I have got some iron, clay, wood, and wood cubes in my inventory. Now, here's a quick piece of information. Okay. Firstly, in order to smelt stuff, you're going to need to add the items into the smelting section. This will then, as soon as I turn on the fuel or the forge, these will begin smelting. For example, if I put in wood, I hit start. As you can see, there's a countdown that starts. And as you can see, I've now got 5 smelted iron and 5 smelted clay. Another thing that a lot of people do not know is that you can also use things like your wood blocks. Now, as you can see, if I put a full stack of wood, it gives me 4,000 or 5,000 fuel, and the normal wood gives me, the blocks also give me about 4,000. So, for example, if you find frames, whether as quest prizes or within supply drops and things, instead of scrapping them and using them as fuel, you can use them directly as fuel. Okay, so we've got a few things nicely smelted, and as you can see, these items are all highlighted now. So I can actually go and craft forged iron based on how much iron I have available. But let's say I want to craft something such as nails. Now I can just select the nails and click on the max, and it will give me the max. Alternatively, if let's say I want to craft some short iron pipes, I can hold in shift and then click, and it will then create the maximum amount according to how much resources I have already smelted. Now here I normally recommend that you have got a smelter for every single type of resource except for clay. Now you'll note that when we are dealing with iron and nails, it requires clay to smelt to create the item. This basically goes for every single other thing that you are going to make. So for example, if I want empty water jars, I need sand and clay. If I need, if I want to make, for example, bullet tips, I'm going to need lead and clay. If I want to make bullet casings, I'm going to need brass and clay. So clay is one thing that you are going to be using a lot of. And if you want to learn how to make a lot of clay, I will show you that in my exploit hints and tips video that should be coming out in a few weeks. If you are watching this video after I have released the hints and tips, the card will appear now. Also, we're going to be looking at storages. So for example, you want to also have quite a few storages here for your metals and your clay and other resources that you want to use in the smelter. So here I normally recommend that you build a few smelters or a few forges. A really cool thing about the forges, let's quickly select another 3, is you can actually stack them on top of each other. So that way you take up less floor space. So let's say, for example, we can have one for iron, one for lead, one for brass, and another one to make things like cement. I tend to have quite a few because it helps with speeding up production. Now, of course, we're going to have our little storages, but what I'm going to do is I'm not going to build the storages too far away from me. So I'm just going to put one here. Then we can have one for lead, one for brass, one for iron, one for steel, which you will make a lot later in game once you have found a crucible. We will also need a clay box and a stone box. There we go. So this way I can easily access all my items from standing in front of the forges. Now the next one that we are going to look at, and this is one of the, to me, one of the most important items that you will find in the game, is the workbench, because basically the workbench crafts everything and everything that you will need to survive in 7 Days to Die. Now, a lot of people tend to, for aesthetic purposes, place your workbenches like this in order to access them, but you can also access them from the side. As you can see, I can access this workbench from any angle. Now, once again, this works very similar to the campfire, whereby if you wish to make something, you need to have the item in your inventory before you craft it. And of course, we're going to also make sure that we've got a few storage containers nearby our workbench. Second to last but not least is of course the chem station. Now, as you can see, the chem station is significantly wider than the workbench. So what I tend to do is I tend to give my chem stations their own little corner to work in. Once again, as you can see, I can access this from all angles, so orientation really does not make much of a difference. However, the big difference between the workbench and the chem station is you need fuel. So make sure that you have got wood that can go into your chem stations, and also if you wish to craft things, the items need to be in your inventory in order to create them. Another good thing about having a nice variety of items and workbench tools is that sometimes there are recipes that differ between crafting them in your backpack, crafting them in the workbench, or crafting them in the chem station. For example, one very prominent one is the creation of glue. So if we go here to the campfire, we can see that glue requires 7 bone and 1 murky water. However, if we go to the chem station and look for glue, we can see that here you only need 5 bones in order to craft 1 glue. So always keep that in mind when deciding how to craft your items. Now, let us quickly craft something so that I can show you exactly how the crafting bench works. Alright, so I want to craft, say, a cellar door to go deeper underground and build a nice base there. So what I do is I go here. You can see I can craft quite a variety of things because I've got forged iron, mechanical parts, electrical parts, and springs. Here's also some iron shutters that you can use for windows, and a garage door. But I want to craft this iron cellar door. So what we do is we make sure that we've got the items in, or we can hold shift to make more of these items, and we just click on craft. Now you'll see it has got a timer, which means I can now go leave that, and when I come back, our cellar door will have been crafted. So let's carry on. This is now the basics of your workshop. You can make a larger workshop by placing a lot more items, workbenches, and that. All that it is going to do is it's going to increase the number of items you can craft at any given time. So for example, if we look here at our workbench, we can craft, for example, one door. I want a garage door. Give me a few shutters. Okay, but now I cannot craft anything else. There's no more room in the queue. So if I have multiple workbenches, I can craft and queue up more items. This really comes handy mid to end game when you start crafting ammo. So you can have 1, 2, or 4 workbenches dedicated to crafting ammo. If you have the resources, then you can have additional 2 or 3 workbenches in order to craft things like your weapons, repairing weapons, making weapons, creating traps, etc. Same thing goes for the chem stations. Because you have got a lot of really nice recipes here in the chem station, you may want to have a chem station dedicated to each one of the resources. For example, you can have one making glue, one making gunpowder, while another one processing your gas. Then let's go over to the perks that are governing your building. So if you head over to your character map, or you hit the B key, your skills key, you can see under intelligence, this is where most of your engineering and productivity perks are situated. So for example, we have got advanced engineering. So our first level allows you to craft forges, and you can also craft items 20% faster, and you can also craft glue cheaper. So we're gonna grab that. If you look at Tinkerer, you can now craft the workbench and cement mixers. So cement mixers are also craftable. I also recommend that you craft a few of these, and also they are stackable, so they can take up less floor space. The reason why I recommend that you have got multiple cement mixers is because here you can create cement and crushed sand. Now, in order to create cement, you need crushed sand. So for my cement build, I tend to have one forge that is dedicated to cement, to making cement, which only requires stone. Then I have another one here dedicated to making crushed sand, which once again only requires small stone. And then 2 of these guys will be focused on making cement mix, whereby I take crushed sand, small stone, and cement in order to make a cement mix. Now, cement mix, of course, is your mid to end game building resource, so that, well, as you can see, my whole base inside is completely made from cement. Now, as you can see, once the cellar door has been created, it will come into the output. So from here, you can now grab it, put it into your inventory, or stuff it into your hotbar, and you can now place your cellar door. Let me put it here in the back to act like a hidden entrance. That looks pretty cool. Can't seem to close it from this direction. There we go. So we can continue. Now, the reason why I'm showing you this is because you need to be aware of how many items you are creating. For example, if I wish to make bullets, we can go into our workbench. I can then go here, type in ammo, and I can see that I can create different types of ammo. Holding shift shows me how much ammo I can craft. So I can craft 2000 ammo. Well, I'm going to go through a lot of ammo, especially with my SMG turret, so I'm going to craft 2000 rounds. Now, this seems fine. Let's give this a few minutes. Okay, so as you can see, items such as the 9mm ammo stacks in counts of 300. Now, this might not seem like a bit of an issue, but wait and see.
Alright, so as we're getting to the maximum output for the forge, as you can see, the forge will continue crafting items. We quickly popped out. Even though you're not in here, it will still continue crafting items. So you can see here's 797. So I'm just gonna take a quick run around. We should have another 2 built. And you can see it stops building. Now, especially when you're creating a lot of these items, you do not want there to be a freeze on the crafting. So I always recommend to try and remember how many items stack and only craft that times 6. So for example, 9mm ammo crafts in stacks of 300. 300 times 6 would be 1800. So craft 1800 and you should then be fine. Let me quickly pop all these things back in here. There we go. Keep my wrench. And that is that. Same rules apply for your mixes here. So for example, if we're using this one to do crushed sand stacks at 6000, cement stacks at 1000, glue in that I think stacks at 125, and so on and so forth. So this is pretty much a very simplified setup for a beginning workshop. So yeah, that's it. So that is it from me, guys, for today. I hope that this tutorial regarding workshop builds was helpful. If you have any questions or any recommendations regarding baseball, please do not forget to leave a comment in the comment section down below. For those of you who did enjoy this, please hit me up with a subscribe and click on the bell icon for further notifications. And if you really like this video, please hit me up with a thumbs up. So, from me, Mr. G63, all I want to say to you guys is bye bye.